The regular meeting of the June 10th Planning Commission meeting. We'll take these 6 items in order. The first will be a roll call. Ms. Feldy?
Anita Pickett,
Here.
Jason Dupree,
Here.
Anderson Neal,
Here.
Boots Thomas,
Here.
Randy Hickerson.
Here.
Chris Owens is absent at the moment, and Corey Mopps.
Here.
Got one absent. Okay. Next item, adoption of the summarized minutes of the May 13th meeting. Everybody had an opportunity to look those over. Are there any additions, subtractions, changes to be made? If not, the chair accepts a motion.
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
And need a second?
Second.
And a second. That's a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Item number 3, final plat approval, request by Colin Coon, 6211 Tennessee Road, Texarkana, Arkansas, for final plat approval of McDonald Heights located at 6103 Mount Olive Drive in Ward 6. Ms. Jamie?
May all remember this is, this property is on the corner of Mount Olive and McDonald Drive. The only phone call we've received about this is from the lady across the street, and she had no opposition to it at all, so.
All right.
I'm here for Bertha Main Kelly and
Oh, okay.
John, and I work, I'm one of her siblings, and so I'm here to, assess the situation.
Okay. So the only change from the preliminary plat is originally they were gonna run all the utilities behind the houses. There's 5 houses. The water company requested that they run the water in front.
Okay.
So that's the only change from the preliminary plat. You have a copy, full-size copy of the plat. It's 5 single-family homes. No roads being built.
Access from the front. So each home will have an access on McDonald Lane, correct? Now, the utilities and all of that's already been done. All,
Yep,
all
it's already been
the, all the
approved.
underground work's already been finished. Saw you out there working. Okay,
We've got a letter from TW that they signed off.
great. Okay, so all that's good. Setbacks are coming off of, 25 foot off the setback, not from the middle of the road, but from the setback line on the shoulder of the road. Is that correct?
It'll be 15 foot.
15 foot?
Off of the road setback, because of the road, it should be shown on that.
It says 15 feet on the,
Yeah.
It's because the property line, the road, I think encompasses about an extra 15 feet. Let's see, but it is a 15-foot setback.
All right.
That was approved originally, due to the extra setback.
Yeah, I remembered that.
Yeah, to keep it similar to the subdivision to the east. The
Okay.
setbacks are the same from the road. Setback at the water center.
Nothing's changed from your original house plans?
We don't have actual house plans.
Well, you kind of had an idea of how big you wanted to build.
Correct, yeah, within that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to be multi-story, they'll be single families, single-story homes?
They will be multi-story,
They will be multi-story, okay,
but they'll be single-family homes.
okay. As long as they're within that footprint, that's great, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Will what you're doing, spill over into other people's property, or how will it work?
Spill over.
Whatever, you already saying the water lines have running up under other people?
Yeah, all the water line, all the utilities, have already been installed and they're within the property line or the easement.
Within the property?
Within the,
Your
the
line,
city.
Yeah.
Ma'am, could we have your name for the record, please?
Minister Sonia Collins,
Okay. Thank you.
I'm my oldest daughter.
So we addressed the drainage also on that, did we not? All right. Any questions from anyone?
So which direction would the drainage plan?
The drainage, since we had to run water through there, we actually reworked the drainage, to actually make it wider and for it a little better on that side, I guess it'd be
Along with water?
along Mount Olive.
Over here is Mount Olive.
Correct, yeah. So that's really the only drainage on the property that, I think most of that water runs, but as far as everything on the lots itself, that all runs to McDonald. It runs forward, so that we hadn't changed anything, we don't plan to change anything there. That'll all be the same.
There's adequate storm drains on McDonald.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. Any other questions from anyone? All right, there be no questions, will, the chair accepts a motion to accept or reject this plat.
I move to accept the plat as presented.
All right, second? You have a second, call the roll, please.
Anita Pickett,
Yes.
Jason Dupree,
Yes.
Anderson Neal,
Yes.
Randy Hickerson,
Yes.
Corey Mobbs,
Yes.
Chairman Thomas.
Yes. All right, plat is accepted, we can move forward with construction with proper permits, and we're good to go.
Can I ask one nosy question? You know how long it's gonna take?
To build, we'll probably, we won't start right away, we have a pretty full workload right now.
Gotcha.
But we would probably take about 3 months to get everything going, and then we'll
Nice.
build a couple houses to start. We'll probably start from the west side and work our way back. And then as one sells,
Very good. All right, item number 4 would be a review of the draft ordinance regarding truck stops inside the city limits and creating a new zone for such. Ms. Jamie?
Based on the comments from the last meeting, I added the definition of minor vehicle repair. I put a clause in there that prohibits inoperable vehicles from being there over 2 weeks. We were requiring a lighting plan, and I added a clause that was grandfathered in existing truck stops. That's to the truck stop ordinance. And then to the mixed-use highway ordinance, the only thing we did was add minor, it originally said repair garage, and we added the word minor to the accessory uses.
I think all those were highlighted in red and changed.
Yeah. Reviewing the minimum lot area at 20,000 square feet. That's a good minimum for you? You're happy with that? It'll be bigger. It'll be bigger than that, right?
That's just the minimum. Remember
That's
when
a
we were
minimum.
looking?
Of course, it could be bigger, but is 20,000 enough as a minimum?
I'm not good at knowing how big 20,000 feet is, so some of y'all.
When we were
Jason,
Googling,
know how big 20,000.
Ballpark, half an acre.
Okay.
Well, half acre won't do it.
When we were
Acre,
Googling, I
what is
think
it,
that
acre?
was-
612 square?
Two,
Two-
208.
208
something
square?
43,560 square feet.
Minimum quarter acre, you won't be enough for the building.
Half acre.
Half acre won't be enough for a building.
What do you want to make it?
Most truck stops are gonna need a minimum, wouldn't you say, Jason, of 3 acres? If we're just talking minimums? No, that's not right.
Yeah, you can,
Roadrunner there on, by the interstate, there's 5 acres there. Close to it.
maybe.
3.
With all the trucks parked next to the big no truck parking sign.
Yeah, that's right.
Um,
Well, the one across the streets where they actually do park trucks overnight, that's a solid 2 acres over there.
yeah,
What would you guess Flying J is out on the interstate?
I'm looking it up.
oh crap, yeah, that one. And I would look at the new QT over there in Nash.
Oh, the one on the south side of the interstate over by the, across from the Roadrunner? The north side.
Yeah, the northeast side there, yeah. I mean, honestly, nobody's gonna buy a lot that's not suitable to their needs
I
for a
think
drug
there's, I
stop.
think there's
so,
3 acres there.
I'd hate to shoot too big and then rule out somebody that has a design that can fit something.
Would you settle on 2 acres? Minimum?
The Flying J has 13 acres,
13 acres?
and it's actually got a little more beside it. It's got 2 parcels, 13 acres, and then another lot that's about 7 acres.
You're faster than me, Miss Velvet.
Yeah.
Say maybe bump it to 80,000 square feet. Be technically under 2 acres, but, I mean, that would allow somebody to have a truck stop that had 3 parking places in it, or 4 parking places in it, you know, not.
Now, right across the street from that is Taylor Truck Wash of America, and it's got 2.5 acres.
That convenience store across, right next door?
It's across the street, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure what.
Well, now, I've always kind of assumed in today's economy that all these truck stops are gonna be corporate things. They're not gonna be a mom and pop operation. But they could be a franchise, a small franchise operation owned locally. If you're gonna have a truck stop with overnight parking, you have to have a big enough area for maneuvering and everything, so I kinda agree with Jason. The company, whoever's gonna build this thing, is gonna buy whatever property they need to do what they want to do. But if we set a minimum standard, then, you know, a small mom and pop or a convenience store that wants to sell diesel fuel and allow them to park also, it needs to be a minimum, I think, minimum of 2 acres.
So you wanna say 80,000 square feet?
I think that would be appropriate. And most are gonna be larger than that.
The Circle K is 2.08.
Huh?
The Circle K is 2.08.
Which is about as small a truck stop as you think somebody would invest in these days. They're not gonna, anything smaller, they're probably not gonna be financially worth it.
Well, the only other thing that I could see that would be on a small scale would be like that, one across from the Roadrunner, and that was a convenience store that also sold diesel fuel, and some of the local guys parked their trucks around back at night, but it's not what I would, traditionally call a truck stop.
Yeah, they don't have showers and
They
stuff.
don't have all of the facilities, there's just a,
The Roadrunner across the street from it's 2.576.
yeah. And they allow trucks to park over there, but they don't sell diesel, so, and all of the vehicles, all the trucks that are parked at those 2 locations are local trucks. They're not over-the-roaders. So, minimum 2 acres would probably suffice, I guess.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? Anybody else got anything else we're talking about here?
I would like to get a motion on something, young man.
Yes, ma'am?
Like I said, our mother, this is my other sister, Donna Williams, and our mother, we would like to give, 15th Street dedicated to Bertha May Callahan. You don't have to change the sign, put the little brown sign up there to dedicate the street, because she drove those streets for 76 years. So it's a thing that's near and dear to the heart,
Yeah,
and we compassionate about, and we would like to see that done in honor of our mother,
okay.
because we had an amazing mother.
Well, this
So
is,
we
this
thank
is,
her.
Miss Jamie is the lady you need to see.
I can get,
We're talking about the truck stops and size wise. And I pulled up how big the ones that we have, not ones.
That'll be an item for another day.
okay. So we wanna change the 20,000 to 80,000.
Yes, I would go along with
Okay.
that. That's amendable in the future if we see we need to, but that should be a minimum standard, I think. All right, on item 3, under administrative requirements, E. We're talking about any truck stop, travel plaza in existence at the time of this ordinance or annexed into the city limits at a later date shall be allowed to remain and shall be considered legally non-conforming and shall comply with Article 8, non-conforming structures and land uses. So let's review that, if you don't mind.
Okay.
If you have a business that is operational and you annex it in, or it's already pre-existing, and it doesn't meet these requirements, technically speaking, it is non-conforming, but do we really want to do that to a business? Because that makes them not be able to expand or grow or change. That locks them into what they're currently at. Could we talk about that for a minute? What do y'all think about changing that maybe? Or is that, would we consider that a grievous enough handicap that we might be causing problems with pre-existing businesses?
Letting grandfather them in a good thing, and then if they want
Grandfather in
to,
is a good thing, but do we want to make them non-conforming?
Well, you don't have any truck stops right now that would be grandfathered in. Because that Roadrunner and that Easy Mart are not technically truck stops
Under our definitions.
under our definition. So you don't have any right now that would be grandfathered in. So we would just be talking about anything that got annexed in.
oh,
And I'm trying to think.
I don't know of anything outside of our city limits. Arkansas legislature eliminated our ETJ. We don't have any authority outside of our city limits anymore.
And there's not any truck stops out 49.
No. Or 71, or 82.
Not
I
you.
don't think we have
There's some
any.
convenience stores out that way that could morph into a truck stop, but no truck stops per se. So,
But if
all right,
they
so
want
it's your contention then, if we made them non-conforming, it'd be a non-event because there is none. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I feel like. I mean, there's not any out interstate between here and Circle J.
So the Roadrunner and Easy Mart are both considered convenience stores?
mm-hmm.
Okay. Triple J is under a C3 zone,
Yeah,
I believe.
Triple J is it's in the city limits. but
Yeah,
already
it's in the
been-
city limits and it's currently a C3. So that would be pre-existing. Would we make that non-conforming? it's already in the city limits and it's pre-existing, if we pass this ordinance, then it becomes non-conforming according to this language. Is that correct? Am I correct there, guys? We definitely don't want to do that to Flying J.
What would it not mean?
Well, he's just saying they wouldn't be able to expand.
Why not?
Because they'd be non-conforming,
Why is it non-conforming?
unless we struck that language.
Because it's already in existence at the time we created this ordinance, it doesn't, although,
But if it meets all
But
the
if it meets all the
requirements,
requirements,
then
then isn't it conforming?
it would be in compliance.
we rezoned it.
Oh, because it wouldn't be zoned MUH.
Right.
Oh,
And according to this language, it would be a non-conforming land use because it pre-existing the ordinance. It'd be grandfathered in, but it'd be non-compliant.
Yeah, but if all it needed was the rezone, I mean, is that really,
is it a big deal to come get something rezoned if they wanted to add on to
We
it,
want
just
to
so
put
that it?
that burden on them to do that? Y'all come down and fill out your application, give us your $100 and we'll hear your thing, and in a month or so, we'll know if the city board agrees, and, do we want to do that? I guess what I'm suggesting is we could strike the non-conforming and just make them grandfathered in.
Okay, that's up to you.
That, I mean, I'm throwing that out for ideas, guys. Jason, what do you think?
I'm just trying to think of what else about what could they do if we just grandfather them in the way they are? What could they continue to build or add on?
They would be able to,
Yeah, but what of that would we not want?
so long as they were so long as they conform, well, they'd have to conform to the ordinance.
I think Jason's saying is, what would they build that we would be against them building? I think they already have a truck wash,
Yeah.
scales. I don't know if they have a repair facility or not.
Well, I mean, I don't see Triple J do it too much unless they wanted to add more parking lot, for instance, or expand their building, for instance.
Could you
or
just
put up
somehow
some-
word it that anything they wanted to modify, they had to get some kind of conditional use approval?
Well, if they were non-conforming, they wouldn't be able to do that. So we had this issue when we passed the ordinance for the C4 Crossroad Business Park Zone. There were a lot of homes and some existing businesses like the International dealership, truck dealership. If we passed it as they wrote it, all those homes and all of those up and down Mount Olive and the International dealership and that little strip mall there on the frontage road, those were all going to be non-conforming uses, which meant you're locked in. You can't do anything else to your business. You can't add to your home. You can't do any of that because you're locked in. So non-conforming is something you do very carefully. I learned that back then because we were fixing to greatly impact some profitable businesses and certainly some residents that lived in there.
But you can't label it as conforming either, because it doesn't conform.
Well, it's a non-conforming land use. It's not that it's a non-conforming building or that kind of thing. It's a non-conforming land use, and
That's all we deal with,
you were locked in, you couldn't be.
our land uses.
I know. So if we made this, if there's an existing truck stop, well, we'll take Triple J, for instance. Obviously, we think Triple J conforms to all of these requirements. But let's say it didn't, there were some things that didn't exactly match our ordinance here. Would we make them change whatever they had to conform to this ordinance if we brought them in, and to avoid being a non-conforming?
Or they'd have to go to what's the name of that thing I'm on?
Oh, the Board of Adjustments.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's
Board of
things,
Adjustments is a cure for a lot of stuff, you're exactly right.
there are things in here that they probably have not done, like submit a lighting plan.
Yeah.
And get a access letter or whatever
Yeah,
that is.
that, I mean, yeah, that's, we're not gonna make them go back and do all that. It exists, but I would think if they were going to add lighting, we'd wanna see a lighting plan. If they're wanting to
Yeah.
change their driveway, I mean, I don't know.
Well, if they
I
were.
don't wanna
if
create
they
a bunch
were-
of hoops for folks to jump through, but
If they were gonna do anything out there, if they were gonna add on, build on, change up, fix up, well, they'd have to have a building permit to do it anyway. But if they're a non-conforming use, then they can't get a building permit, that's what I'm suggesting. So we need to be careful to not make it a non-conforming use, I think. That's just my opinion.
Okay.
I don't think we would hurt ourselves if we did that, where Jason's right, they could always go to Board of Adjustments and change it up, but, I'm always pretty timid when it comes to interfering with pre-existing profitable businesses. Let's don't make it harder on them.
So you want to strike the non-conforming language?
I would like, but I'll take a consensus of everyone's opinion about it. I don't do it on my judgment, of course. What do you guys think?
so what ordinance applies to them? If the truck stop doesn't, what do they currently fall under? Gas station?
I'd have to go back and find it. I'm guessing, knowing Mary, that she classified them as a gas station. But I don't know, I wasn't here then.
Well, I know the zone where Flying J is C3. And that's a multitude, all kinds of uses, so, and we don't, like you said, we don't really want them to rezone. I mean, we could rezone around them and it wouldn't affect them, but we could go ahead and do it, preempt it and just rezone it if the board of directors wanted to, and it wouldn't affect their business at all.
That's just what I'm
Make it-
wondering, if you went and, after you passed the ordinance, if you just went to them and be like, hey, we wanna rezone y'all now so that, and they, honestly, they probably don't care.
Yeah,
Probably helps them, because like right now, they couldn't put a shop or a hotel on that lot, right?
well, there's a shop, there's a little tire shop there now, I think, but no hotel.
They can't increase their footprint.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to.
So I'm saying like right now, today, even if we didn't have this ordinance, could they add a hotel on the same lot?
If it's, I'd have to look at the zoning. See
Well,
if
if
it
it's-
allows, but my
okay.
guess is if it's C3, it allows a hotel.
It would. I believe it probably would.
Because I know they added that truck wash, they've added that truck wash in the last 5 years, because I was here when they added the truck wash.
The one across the street or the one, that one across the street's been there a lot longer than that.
It's the other one. They've added.
Oh, they have their own truck wash now?
They bought some land. They bought some land and added to that in the last 5 years.
I hadn't been out there, so I guess I didn't notice that. All right.
You're talking about out at Mandeville? That one, the big one? Yeah, it's 13 acres now.
Well, that's all done with building permits.
Because I know, 'cause when they did it, half of what they bought, part of it was in the city limits and part of it was out of the city limits. And we had to maneuver the building where the building was in the city limits.
It is
Okay.
zoned C3, and it's basically a two-lot subdivision. 13 acres is the truck stop, and then next door is 7 acres.
Well, for me personally, from my experience, I'm uncomfortable with non-conforming uses, non-conforming structural.
So,
I don't want us to get into it. I don't want to create a problem.
but if we don't,
We could grandfather them all in, just don't make them non-conforming.
But then they would be. That's the definition of it.
Miss Anita, what you think?
I like the idea of striking non-conforming. That sounds more feasible than doing anything else.
So we want to grandfather them in, we want them to have some guidelines, but we don't want them to be non,
Mm-hmm.
is that right?
Yeah. I don't want them to be non-conforming because I don't want to lock them up.
But to make them non-conforming, all they would have to do is go before us?
No,
Or go
if they were
before.
non-conforming,
It ties their hands.
it ties their
They can't
hands.
expand.
They can't do
So
anything.
so if we said, okay, you're conforming, we're not gonna label you non-conforming, and they wanna expand, what part of this ordinance would apply to them then? Only the new stuff?
I don't think any of this ordinance would apply to them because they're not in a mixed-use highway zone.
That's true.
Exactly, so unless we rezoned them to mixed-use highway,
They wouldn't fall under.
they
this
wouldn't fall under this
at all.
ordinance anyway, so they're not,
They would fall under.
See, whatever zone they were in.
C3. So
that's what I'm
this-
saying, if we pass this ordinance and we don't rezone the Flying J to mixed-use highway, they still meet the definition of a truck stop, but
Okay,
So you think item number 3 here is
this zone,
red
this
that we're
ordinance
talking
only
about
applies to,
only applies
to
in
mixed-use highway zone, right?
that's the way the ordinance is written.
Okay.
They're only allowed in a mixed-use highway.
So unless we rezoned them, they wouldn't be grandfathered, they would need to be grandfathered in because this ordinance doesn't apply to them. Now, if we annexed, we could we would have the decision what to zone them when we annex them in, right?
Correct.
So if there's some new truck stop out there that wouldn't meet this and we didn't want to lock them in, we would just zone them C3 when we annexed them. If they went ahead and met the requirement and there wasn't any problem, we'd zone them as mixed use and all's right with the world. So I guess all that to say,
The
if,
easiest thing
if
is
the,
rezoning them.
or don't. And they keep functioning like they always have as a C3 gas station.
Well, the purpose of the ordinance, as it was requested by us, Board of Directors, to define a truck stop and to set some minimum standards.
Right.
So if every truck stop that we do going forward, that we might annex in, if there was one out there, let's say somebody builds one just outside the city limits, 5 years, 10 years from now, they get annexed, and we bring them in as C4, C3, then our truck stop regulations don't apply to them at all.
Yep.
But we could
That
bring them
defeats
in-
the purpose of our truck stop
But we could bring them
regulation.
in as the MU
we could bring them in
multi-use.
as mixed-use highway.
Bring them in as a
And make 'em
multi-use and make them conform.
We would have that decision at the time. I guess what I'm saying is, nothing that we do, unless we rezoned it, is gonna affect the Flying J and Manatee. So we don't have to worry about whether we're locking them in or anything
At this point,
until they got rezoned to mixed use. And if they don't wanna be rezoned, if we don't wanna force them to be rezoned, then it would never,
Do you want me to call them? Do you want to table this until I can talk to them?
get an opinion from them. Well, another scenario, Jason, if,
We have at least one board of directors that wants it left in,
once it what?
left in. The
The-
one that asked for the ordinance,
the non-conforming or the,
the non-conforming.
Yeah.
That gives us the opportunity to make them come into conformance if we need to. And right
Well, if
now-
another company moved across the interstate on the south side there and built a truck stop in that open patch, let's say,
is that in the city limits?
and that's not in the city
That's-
limits.
Yeah, it's not.
But let's say that we wanted to annex them in at some point, would we bring them
Oh.
in as a mixed-use highway or
Now,
C3? It
You never know
depends.
how things are gonna play out, but if a Love's truck stop wanted to build that's not in the city limits, the city's gonna wanna annex it right then. 'Cause
So
they're
they
gonna
get the
want all
tax.
Tax off of
Yeah.
it.
Right,
So in the development of that truck stop, we would have the ability to say, meet these
Meet
requirements.
these requirements, yeah.
True.
Because we're gonna annex you in. Now, they could go build without coming to us, right?
They're
not
gonna
in the
wanna
city
be
limits.
annexed in
They could
'cause
just
they're
build
gonna-
with whatever,
They're gonna want water, sewer.
which is the whole reason the Flying J's, well, the second reason the Flying J's in the city limits, right?
I was before my time.
They wanted the water and the city wanted the taxes, so
They
it was,
gerrymandered a little city limit out there to gobble them up, true, okay. All right, so our consensus is that it really doesn't matter one way or the other if we leave it non-conforming.
I think leave it as is and
We can-
add the
we can work
80,000.
Around that, is that your thought, Jason?
that's the way I'm interpreting it. If all of these rules only apply to a multi-use highway zone, then I think that's how we get around locking somebody in that we don't necessarily want to lock in, or we do
You're
want to lock in.
thinking since we currently do not have any truck stops.
Yeah, we're not putting the hammer
Except
down on
Flying
anybody.
J, then we're really not, we're not gonna make anybody non-conforming, you think?
Yeah, I mean,
That's what I
we
think.
said Flying J.
And we don't have a multi-use highway zone anyway, so
Nowhere, yeah. This is all
Yeah,
brand
until we
new.
start zoning. Now, not to switch subject, but before I forget, the next page on administrative requirements, where it says an approved driveway permit from RDOT, we probably need to say if it's on a state highway. Because technically, you could have somebody on like Jefferson
Okay.
that's not a state highway, then Arkansas DOT does.
Would it be better to say from the appropriate authorities?
Yeah, because you would think we would, Tyler would want to have bought off on a driveway permit before.
That way we don't have to change it.
Now, we're including this mixed-use highway zone and all of the requirements and definitions and regulations governing truck stops. So we've locked this highway zone down to truck stops only, basically,
The way
right?
it's written, the mixed-use highway is a whole nother ordinance. So the truck stop ordinance is one ordinance, and the mixed-use highway is another ordinance.
Okay, so you got two here, okay.
This says it's to provide suitable locations for commercial activities or light industrial land uses that serve highway travelers, providing goods and services to a regional population, or uses that have a need to be located near the interstate highway system to facilitate access by a large number of employees, used by the traveling public, or the receipt or shipment of goods by highway vehicles. Because, I mean, at some point, maybe, I don't know, maybe FedEx wants to put a
Okay,
warehouse.
not to just completely muddy the waters more. So we enact this, we're saying that truck stops, anything that meets the definition of a truck stop is only allowed in a mixed use,
That is
okay?
intent.
Then if the Flying J meets the definition of a truck stop, we have made it non-conforming in a C3.
Right.
You're correct, yeah.
So
So we
we
would need to
rezone.
rezone Flying J.
If they wanted to ever modify anything, they would need to rezone.
I'll call him, I'll just call him.
Run it by them, yeah. I like the idea of two ordinances, one governing truck stops and one governing the land use, and they,
So if they're the only one, yeah, I would see if,
Let me give him a
I
call.
would think we could just go ahead and rezone it.
We'll just sit on it.
well, if the city board wanted to rezone them, if we wanted to rezone them, it'd just be a simple thing, okay, you're gonna be rezoned, and to them, it would have no functional effect. It just changed the zone of the dirt you're sitting on.
But I think as a courtesy, I should give him a call.
Well, yeah, you certainly, absolutely. Yes, I would suggest do that. Get some feedback from them and we'll see.
Because it's really, like I think Jason said, it's to their advantage to be rezoned.
Yes, I go along with that.
Okay.
Any other questions, ideas, or suggestions from anyone?
I have a question just about procedures. If we do an ordinance right here, what, does the city board have two choices, yes or no, or can they amend it when they get it there?
If they amend it,
or change it?
They can
What do
make
you wanna
it-
call it?
More
They
Strike
can make
something?
it more stringent, but they can't make it less stringent.
Yeah,
If they make it less stringent, it has to come back to us.
Right.
if they say no, they say no.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Just don't do it.
most of the time, they'll say, no, let's send it back to the planning commission, y'all work on this some more. So,
Because the ordinance that we voted on last month about the 10-foot versus 15-foot setbacks for accessory buildings, that's probably gonna come back to us, because one of the board members had some issues with it, so we're working on it. I'm waiting on the fire chief to, because there was a portion in there about firewalls that we struck, and we're not sure if that's in the fire ordinance, so we're waiting on the fire chief to come back. This is the last one.
Lucky.
all right. You got everything you need here?
So are we pausing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll come back to us with a final draft, we'll vote to approve or disapprove, and then we'll send it forward to the, there'll be two ordinances, am I correct?
One for the mixed-use highway and one for the road.
Very good. Okay, item number 5, staff comments. You want to comment on anything?
If I do, I forgot it.
All right, so just for the record, we're on our last workshop where we were talking about the short-term rentals. That's currently on hold temporarily.
It is on hold.
Okay. Back to our little shipping container homes, that is also on hold?
I need to talk to Tyler about how he wants to proceed with that.
Okay.
The board had asked for that workshop. They haven't brought it up again, so let me talk to Tyler about how he wants to proceed.
All right. Okey-doke.
But if you haven't driven by and looked at the one they're building, I drove by there the other day.
It looks good. I mean, that's gonna be, those are gonna be nice little places. We just need to get it not locked down where the guy can go ahead and do his thing. I mean, it's a great opportunity for affordable housing. And, the way he was doing it, as long as we've got guidelines, I mean, it won't be rinky-dink, it won't be something, if it's, like Tyler says, if it's gonna follow national building codes, then it won't be some redneck throw
And he
together
worked-
something.
Yeah, and he worked with Roger for several months before he started.
Yeah, good. Okay. All right, any other business? Anyone? All right, having concluded, the chair accepts the motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.